on my dining room table.
We'll arrange another meeting.
A private signing.
Yeah, that's
yes. Thank you.
Be happy to do it.
It's a lovely so they should eat. Yeah, really?
Crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool, that's awesome.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so kindly for joining us. Welcome to Green Apple Books on the Park. My name is Car Johnson. I'm the event coordinator for Green Apple. And tonight I'm glad to be celebrating Muni is My Ride. Portraits of Muni in Words and Images. That's right. You got it. Perfect. So tonight we will be featuring all these fine folks to the side of and behind me. Keith Scott Ferris, Charles Haletky, Brendan Bartholomew, Leah Smith, and Dustin Wells. Let's give them all a hand. I'm sorry to say that Rory O'Neill won't be joining us tonight, but Brendan has stepped in his stead, and we're very happy to have him here. So thank you, Brendan. Thank you all for joining us tonight, both in person and online. Hello, online audience. We appreciate you. We are broadcasting from San Francisco. We are on unceded Ramaytush Ohlone land, and we hope that you join us in our pledge to turn land acknowledgement into action by donating either your time or monetary means to an Indigenous organization every time you hear a land acknowledgement. The heart of the evening. Now is a good time to silence your phones if you have not already. I would say picture taking is encouraged. We have a really great season ahead of us. This is only our third event of 2024, and it's going pretty well so far. So I think you might enjoy the rest of the season that we have coming your way. The restroom is behind me. It is available after the event and not during the event for obvious reasons. If you need to know how to get there afterward, please let me know and I will gladly show you. We have copies of Muni is My Ride available for purchase at the front register this evening. You can find them there. And a little bit of extra incentive if you buy, we said multiple copies. More than two? Two or more?
I think 2 is fine.
2 or more copies. First 5 people who come to me and would like a shirt. We have these really rad shirts that we have provided. If you cannot tell, they say, information gladly given, but safety requires avoiding unnecessary conversation. It's like so perfect because how many people have seen that on Muni and been like, yeah, I get it. So perfect. So we have, I believe, 5, and we can take a look at the sizes for you, make sure we get the right one. Really special. Thank you for providing those. Pretty cool. I'm going to try not to take all of them for myself. So tonight we're going to hear a little bit from each of our contributors. Then we'll follow with an audience Q&A where you can ask any question that you may have within reason. But any question that you may have, and this is like really unique opportunity to talk to the people who made this book and for these drivers as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first writer. First, novelist Leah Smith has had short stories published in national and literary magazines. While raising a daughter and working as an ESL instructor at City College of San Francisco, she completed 8 novels and 2 collections of short stories. She retired in 2019 and now focuses on writing and submitting new work, including manuscripts of her novel Modine and A Perfect Wife. With her writing skills, she advocates for public art and has managed several community art installations, including the Alamany Island Beautification Project. Please give another hand for Leah Smith.
Thank you. So thanks to Green Apple for hosting this event and for Car Johnson, who's just wonderful. We're so glad to be in her hands. And to all of you for coming this evening. So we're just going to go ahead and jump in and do some readings from the book to give time for Q&A. I'm going to read 2 excerpts from women operators who are not able to join us tonight. The first one I will read from is Cynthia Bailey. She's a transit operator in the Flynn Division. And this is her portrait done by Keith. And I'm going to be reading from page 36. In Houston, I had learned the serpentine but never used it. My first Muni run was an articulating bus, and right away I was using the serpentine, which we trained to do backwards and forwards around construction sites. I do take my time. I am a highly skilled and professional driver, but I am not into speed in small spaces or taking risks. I am not one to flex my skills on the open road just to show you I can do it. We are also tested on the execution of an alley dock, and you can't see the back of the bus, and you can't come past the cones. Mirrors are your best friends. They are your eyes. If you don't use them, I guarantee you'll have an accident or hurt someone. Hitting a cone on test day could be an automatic fail, and there are no backup video cameras. The ideal with Muni is that you never want to drive a bus like you would drive your car. The mantra is, use your mirrors, take your time. I always wait for bicycles and scooters to pass me, because if they hit me, they could be killed. I'm the bus, going 20 miles an hour. I'm bigger, so I yield to them. Sometimes I'd really like to yell out my window, but I don't. To me, the red light is stop and the green light is go. But if you hit someone, no one's going to care what the light said, because you're the professional and held to higher standards. We love applause, but we want to leave time for Q&A. So if you hold your applause till we're all done, then we'll have more time for you. I'm also going to read from Sonia Leonard Yellowrobe, and here she is on her Harley Davidson. And I'm reading from page. So she could care for her son. Sonia applied for and took a part-time position at Muni. After 4 years, her supervisor persuaded her to work full-time. I just loved my supervisor, David Banbury, and the way he treated us. He was on the money on everything as far as running the Presidio division. It hasn't always been an easy road for Sonia. When I was brand new at Muni, I didn't have a thick skin, so I took a brief leave. When I returned, I took the opportunity to drive the trolleys. I didn't want to sit all day gaining weight. There was a lot to learn and I had to stay active. Trolley bus motors are powered by electricity from overhead wires, and the poles can derail, particularly if the equipment is aging, requiring the operator to deboard and reattach the poles. You have to be to work for Muni. I have my shirts cut because I don't like tucking them in, and I pay to have the Muni worm, that's our logo, embroidered on my pant cuffs and collar points. It's not like I want to be a bullhorn and explode with a Muni shout-out, but I must say, Muni keeps us trained and certified, and we are professionals. Knock on wood, I've never had an accident in my 13 years driving for Muni.
Thank you, Leah. I think it's appropriate to give another hand for Leah. I also didn't know that the logo was called Worm.
Yeah, the worm.
I did not know that. That is cool. That makes sense. It looks like a worm. Thank you so much, Leah. Up next, as a young artist, Keith Ferris was selected for the New Orleans Triennial and created a site-specific piece at the Amarillo Art Center and helped found Trinity House Gallery, an artists cooperative. From 1986 until its closing in 2021, he was represented by the SF MoMA's Artist Gallery, showing there numerous times, with a 2005 solo in the MoMA's Cafe Museo and a 2018 group show for the MoMA's Members Night. He is shown at Oakland's Gallery 55 and with the book club Van Cleef, a Bay Area artist group. His focus has always been abstract oil paintings, and drawing remains foundational to his work. Please welcome Keith Ferris.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thank you, Cara, for the introduction. So I'm going to read from a couple of my meditations on the drawing. Up here, opposite the drawing, This one is on page 81. It's a meditation on this particular illustration. This young woman in her 40s was very proper looking, very prim, sitting up straight. I was drawn to her hairstyle in combination with her unusual coat. I'm still intrigued by the fabric and the handbag with all the diamond shapes sticking out. All of this was set off by her red scarf that had some kind of Chinese motif. She's very proper in her presentation of self. Her demeanor is so conservative. She's really kind of uptight. And then she's got all these garments that are very flamboyant, including her red and blue striped socks at the bottom of her tights, coming out of her fancy high-top gray tennis shoes. Okay, the second one is this illustration of these three gentlemen in the stairwell of the bus, on a crowded bus. Coming home, everyone's coming home from work, I would imagine. I was interested in the mirror in the illustration. That drew me into the three figures. The reflection of the front of the bus, just above the heads of the guys in the mid-bus stairwell. At times, I couldn't see them because other people's backpacks broke my field of vision. These guys looked like they really wanted to get off the bus. Right after work, everybody just wants to go home. Very inward focused. I wanted to include the suggestion of how tightly crowded the bus was and roughed in the other passengers in pencil. I thought it was really cool how you had these three heads and how what could have been a fourth head was actually a mirror. Okay.
Thank you so much, Keith. One more time for Keith. And I have plenty of questions, but I'll wait until the question time. All right. Our next reader, Dustin Wells, has lived all over the United States. He only works for Muni because he loves San Francisco and likes to ride around it all day. He lives in the Bayview with his two teenage daughters who wear his black Muni operator's jacket as fashion statements. Please welcome Dustin Wells.
So yeah, the other day, my oldest daughter said, they only stopped for me because I had on a coat. And she's like, that's why I have it on. I'm like, I know. Because at certain times of day, they're full. And if they're full, they can't stop at all the stops, you know. But they always stop for her, which is why she wears the jacket. And she would like to have a hat. So I'm not going to read. I'm just going to tell some things. When it's time for me to stop, just yank me off the stage. So for the past 2 years, I've only been on the 5 and the 5R because I think it's the easiest line. And I was just like, and I'm trying to find the easiest line. And I'm just trying to, and it seems to be the easiest line. But when I signed up on the 5R, all the other guys said, they're like, you're going to get sick of it. Tourists are going to drive you insane. I'm like, tourists, I love them. I love to talk. I'm going to be so happy. This is how you get here and there, right? But they worn me out, man. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And the thing that started to make me upset was they would hop on and they'd be like, how do you get to the H? Harry. And I'm like, you want the 7 bus? It's right there. Its doors are open. You can hit it. Just got to go there, right? And they're like, actually, and they're staring at their phones, right? I figured I would ride on the 5 and walk across Golden Gate Park to Haight-Ashbury. And this is why I'll never make Operator of the Year, or even the month, or the day, because I swear. I say, and why in the hell are you asking me? Or why, they're staring at their phone, and they'll be like, well, thanks for that information, but my phone says, and I'm just like, ask your phone. And it happened to me on Saturday. There was somebody like, Lombard Street. We want to get to Lombard Street. I'm like, all right, get on the 30. This is the 5 and the 30 stop. You just go right behind me. There's a stoplight. Just go across the street. That's the stop. And I can see it. I just saw it. And they're like, actually. And I'm just like, ah! Actually. No, but the tourists, I love San Francisco. I do. I'm like, that's the house where Jefferson Airplane used to live. I say it on the out loud thing so everybody can tell. I'm like, Alamo Square. Talk about that. That's fun. But it hits all the stops and all the stuff. But, there's signs on them, right? And it says, like, this bus is going to the ocean, right? It says Ocean Beach on the bus, on the side of the bus. And they're like, does this bus go to the ocean? Ask your phone. Oh, you know what, though? I say that now. They're like, how do I get? I'm like, ask your phone. Your phone knows everything. And they do. They're handy. But I always know when somebody's from out of town, though, because they hold up their hands, They're like at the stop, and they hold up their hand, And I'm like, no, you're from out of town. Because if you're going to ride the bus in San Francisco, you just stand there and you look angry. Like, that's how you know that you're from San Francisco. Just really upset. Also, they don't sit down. People from out of town, they get on the bus and, open the doors, shut the doors. A lot of folks get on, a lot of folks get off, shut the doors. And as soon as I start to go, they'll be like, oh, and it happens always right out here, they just saw a show, the Academy of Sciences or something, big young, and they're all excited to go back to their hotels and stuff. And they jump on the bus and, open the doors, like 30 folks, come on, shut the doors. And as soon as I start, to go, like, they all go, whoa! And I'm like, and I say this out loud, I'm like, yeah, it rolls down the street. It's a bus, It's like, they don't even know. Like, it's a bus, man. Sit down. But, that's what I like about driving in Chinatown, though, right? Not to stereotype, but they will knock you over for a seat in Chinatown. And I like that. Jump on the bus and knock somebody over for a seat. And at the stoplights, change the seats. I don't know why, but they all change the stoplights. Sorry about that. Yeah, what else do I want to say? I think that's it. Time. Thank you.
One more time for Dustin. Who will be appearing at the Comedy Cellar later this month. Thanks, Dustin. Our next reader, Charles Haletky, was raised between the San Francisco Bay Area and Olympia, Washington. He's lived in San Francisco for 30 years. Charles has worked for Muni for 21 years in many roles, including bus operator, cable car grip operator, supervisor for bus, cable car, and light rail, training instructor for bus, cable car, and light rail, and as a training manager. While not working, he sings in the barbershop style with the San Francisco Cable Car Chorus, not affiliated with Muni. He also travels and cooks. Please welcome Charles Haletky.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank Leah and Keith for their portrait and interview with Mike Delia. He's a friend and a colleague who passed away in August after a very long battle with cancer and was one of the nicest people on the planet. And it was a real pleasure when I got this copy of this book to open it up and one of the first things I saw was this great portrait of Mike. So thank you for that.
We gave the original to his wife.
So I'm just going to read a little selection here. I was a new supervisor, and Central Control calls, says the fire department is blocking Geary and asked me what they should do with my line. I'm in charge? Me? Luckily, I'd driven a taxi in the city, so I said, okay, right turn on Leavenworth, left on Sutter, left on Hyde, right on Geary, no missed stops. And they did it. That was when the seriousness of being in charge of the busiest bus lines in California, carrying 50 to 60,000 people a day, really hit me. Some Muni managers look at data, spreadsheets, and do analysis, which is important, but they forget that there are real living human beings behind all that. I don't like aspirational planning. Too often we've done planning based on what we'd like to see rather than based on our resources, and this leads to big service gaps. It's nice to be a visionary, but public transit has a way of enforcing reality. Muni has turned me into a ruthless pragmatist. A plan for the future has to be reasonable. The business of transit is fundamentally human. Our cargo is people, the vehicles are operated by people, people can be uncooperative and cranky and smell bad and have to pee, and I haven't even started describing the passengers yet. Sorry, guys. It's a very human industry, and to see it as anything else is just flat out wrong. It's true that passengers can get on and off and avoid human interaction, but the system is run by people. Whether you're running it as management, working in it, or a passenger, you can't forget that it's a human institution with all the frailties and all that being human brings to the enterprise.
One more time for Charles. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. You guys all smell wonderful. Our last reader before, and then we're going to jump into Q&A for all of the folks joining us. Our last reader, Brendan Bartholomew, is originally from San Francisco's Excelsior and Portola districts, and is just barely old enough to remember the Woolsworth on Market Street. Prior to finding his home at Muni, Brendan held a variety of jobs, including psychedelic light show artist, bartender, hotel desk clerk, and freelance journalist. His writing has appeared in San Francisco Examiner, SF Gate, Bloomberg City Lab, and San Mateo Daily Journal. Brendan will celebrate his 7-year anniversary at Muni later this year. And when he's not at work, Brendan collects science fiction toys and tries to meet the most humble of things. Tries to meet as many dogs as he can. Please welcome Brendan Bartholomew.
So gotta give some shout outs. I'm excited that some celebrities are here. They just walked in, Hayden Mill and Hong Pan. If you could both stand up, maybe? Oh, what? Oh, you're not?
You guys knew me as Henry, but I go by my Chinese name, Jahong now.
Oh, okay, that's right. And Hayden is here too, right? That is Hayden, right? He's not standing up. Hayden is a notorious internet troll who trolls in favor of transit, among other things. And Hong, or however we say your name, Hong is a transit journalist. So excited that they're here. And I'm also pumped up to be sharing the stage with Charles Haletky because he was in charge of the training department when I went through Muni boot camp about 7 years ago. And it's a huge big deal to me because Charles has been responsible for training probably thousands of operators. And I've gotten in some trouble here and there at Muni, but part of why I still have my job is that I listened to everything Charles said. And some of the best operators out there, we have like 2,000 operators currently. How many do we have?
1 or 2, I think.
Yeah, like if you meet an operator in this city, probably they are somebody who bears Charles's imprint as a trainer. And that segues into, Charles mentioned pee earlier. That segues into the nice off-color story I want to tell that illustrates why I love Muni so much. When I was in the training program, sucking up everything that Charles said to us, one of the things he said was, get in the habit of going to the bathroom as often as you can, whenever and wherever you can, because you never know in this job when you're going to get another opportunity to do so. So I'd been on the job maybe a month, maybe 3 months, I'm not so sure, but I was at my Muni division and I really had it in my head, pee as often as you can, because you don't know when you will be able to again. So I'm in the men's room at this Muni division, standing at the urinal, and this coworker of mine named James, he was like about this tall, and just a big, huge, giant man. He comes and stands right next to me at the urinal, and he's all, "Oh, you need to get your prostate checked. I'm already done. You ain't even gotten started yet." And this is the part that I love. He walked out of the men's room, and as he's exiting the door, he announces to the whole Muni division. Nobody else in the division has any idea who he's talking to, but as he's walking out of the bathroom, he announces to the whole division, "That motherfucker's still pissing." So there's my off-color story, and what that illustrates is, this is not a white-collar environment. This is a job where people can actually be human around each other, and they're allowed to color outside the lines. And it's like when that experience happened, I thought, I love working here. So do you want me to read anything, or is that if I use
I think you use your phone.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Thank you so much, Brendan. One more time for Brendan. Okay, we're gonna segue into our Q&A portion for the evening. So, do the Jeopardy music while I configure us here. You don't need to literally do it. Just talk amongst yourselves. And then I'm gonna have you go share that.
Is it already on?
Now wait first. Okay. You all did great. Thank you so much.
So we're open to questions. Yes.
What inspired the two of you to embark on this project?
The question is, what inspired us to embark on the project?
Well, I think it was the passenger drawings to begin with. I had started doing passenger drawings just from the individual inspirations while I was riding the bus. And I would come home from seeing somebody on the bus and do a drawing of that person immediately. And so I ended up with about 10 drawings to begin with, and I decided I wanted to do an exhibition of these drawings. And I had approached the Muni administration building about it, but maybe I talked to the wrong person anyway. They said they didn't do that kind of thing. So anyway, time went by, and then I talked with Leah some more about it, and Leah made a suggestion, or you said that actually I came up with the idea of the book.
So Keith didn't want to change his process, the spontaneity, the serendipity of passengers, because I said, you don't have enough drawings. So in the back of my mind, I grew up in San Francisco. I've been on Muni since I was 7. My mom gave us all bus passes, the kind that you punch the tickets off. You guys are on your own, get yourself to school, whatever you need to do, you're on the bus. Anyway, so I kind of had an ulterior motive that wasn't formed. It was just sort of in my subconscious. I said, well, how about operators? Would you be willing to do portraits of operators? And that'll leave you free to continue to do the passenger drawings at your own inspiration. So he said, yeah. We also had a family member who was a Muni operator, so I thought, oh, this will be pretty easy. We'll ask the family member to introduce us to Muni operators. That actually didn't turn out to be the case. But I knew that if I interviewed them, we could fill up pages. So in the introduction, I do explain that in a way, the book started as a showcase for the passenger drawings, but it evolved. The more that we interviewed operators and got to know them, were disabused of some ideas we had about Muni, it just became more and more a celebration of Muni operators, and also sort of a way to say what we would like, kind of a shift in thinking about users. Just to give a really easy example, I get on the bus, there's a young person gets on with a wet umbrella, and they put it on the seat next to them. Like, okay, so you've just put that seat out of commission. So I would like there to be sort of a shift, and also the way people treat operators is pretty bad a lot of the time, and they don't. There's a lot of abuse of the public servants, and I would like that to change. So.
How did you approach the operators then?
What's up?
How did we approach the operators?
Oh, I'll answer that.
Okay.
Somebody sent me a link, and they're like, you should call them. And I said, okay. But I think I saw like an ad somewhere or a sign somewhere.
Well, what's interesting is that Charles, Dustin, and Brendan, all three responded to, I think it was a Facebook, might have been on Facebook, but anyway, Muni Diaries put out a call.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
But we were pretty far in the process, but we did everything. We did cold calls. We asked everyone we knew, do you know a Muni operator? Do you know anyone who works for Muni? So word of mouth was the main way. And it was hard, but I gotta say, we're really grateful of the.
For those of you in the audience that ride, just yell out the lines that you ride a lot, but yell them at the same time. So ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
43,
44. N. Yeah, that one's so fantastic, right? I love that one. It goes all the way to the ocean, it goes downtown, it goes underground, and it's fast, right? I like it a lot. I love. See, not only do I drive the things, I like them. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's a good line. Go 44 is handy. It's a good line, right?
Yes, it is a good line.
Man, that hits everything.
It's right here.
Yep.
It is.
Did you take
and
it
it goes
tonight?
from one side of the city. Well, you know what they all do? They all go from one side of the city to the other side. Not all of them, but you know, somebody said the 37.
37.
I don't even know what that is.
Corvette. 37 Corvette.
37 is
Really short.
I've never rode that one. Not even the long ones, right? That's a Herdes. The Hated and Castro.
So
Oh, so it's up all those like hills and stuff.
Yeah, Dustin, you're a little bit of a
that one.
newbie. So the bus lines in San Francisco when I was a kid, back in the 70s, most of them were loops. It wasn't a grid. Yeah, they were loops, and some of them didn't really touch each other. So you have to walk from loop to loop if you wanted to get somewhere. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
I've read some philosophers said that progress is not more poor people driving, but more rich people riding the bus. What's that?
I completely agree with that. There's quite a lot of thought, think tanking about public transportation, because nationwide transportation is down. Use of public transportation is down. So all the transit systems in the country are actually in financial trouble. And there have been studies are being done, not enough studies, but they're kind of getting there. But what the studies show is that everybody wants to use public transit during peak times, but they hate it because it's crowded. And so what the systems do is they offer more. Well, when they offer more, then they get more riders. So actually, you never get to the place of offering peak time service where people are actually happy with peak time service. And then, what do you do with the operators when it's not peak time service? They're just driving empty buses around the town. So it's a big, it's a conundrum that, so I think it's a mindset. You have to have a mindset that I use public transportation. Sometimes it's inconvenient. Sometimes it's horrible. Sometimes the operator passes me up, but they have a good reason. And I can absorb those kind of little, because we absorb it all the time in automobiles. You can't find parking. I have a flat tire. Someone broke my window. We put up with a lot of stuff as auto drivers. But when we get on the bus, I don't know, there's a mindset like we want it to be perfect. So
I gotta say, the Wi-Fi next bus systems really make it a lot easier. You know, I can reach down in 2 minutes to spare and have to wait up and call.
well, right now, if you're a Muni rider, I think it's the golden time of San Francisco Muni, because the frequency is amazing. You don't even need to know what the schedule is. You just, like, I take the 44, and I've actually been in some life-threatening situations where I'm threatening my own life by running into traffic to get on 44, because I can see the bus. Right? Anyway, I had a couple mishaps, and actually a bus operator, I ran toward his bus so that he would let me on, and he wouldn't let me on. And I thank that bus operator for saving my life, because then I see the 44 go by, no worries, there'll be another one. I get to the bus stop, within 4 minutes, there's my 44. The frequency is wonderful right now. Yeah. Another question?
Can you buy these books today?
You can, and if you buy more than one, you can get a free Muni t-shirt, and it's 100% cotton, organic. There's a little, yes?
If the 5 is the easiest, what's the hardest?
Oh, I can answer that.
Yeah,
maybe we could.
I drove the 5 as a rookie 20 some years ago.
Easy.
And I didn't particularly like the 5. And there's a point to this, because this was on Market Street back in the old days when Market Street was jammed with traffic, and the 5 drove in the curb lane, and you spent all day long trying to negotiate people who are making right turns off a Market. My point is that what makes a line easy or hard varies tremendously from operator to operator. I know operators whose goal is to have the easiest line for them. And that might mean a line like the 37, because there's not very many people who ride that. I know other operators who would hate the 37 because it drives down streets that are 6 inches narrower than the bus. Up on Buena Vista Heights, there's a street it runs down that's about 8 inches between the parked cars wider than the bus. And that would drive some operators crazy. So it really depends on the operator. I know operators who got on the 14 mission right out of training and drove it for 15 years every day and loved it. So
Tell them the reason, Charles.
Well, that particular operator I was thinking of came in as a supervisor in my class about 12 years ago. He was from Hong Kong, so his English was good, but it was with a very heavy Cantonese accent. And he learned to speak street Spanish by driving the 14. And to hear Johnny Wong cuss in fluent street Spanish in his wretched accent was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
Well,
it all depends on the operator. I mean, it just depends. So.
And the 14 mission too, there are only basically 2 turns. So there's a lot of wear and tear on shoulders for bus operators because they're turning that wheel. And the 37 Corvette that's also another reason that people don't want that line.
Well, and here's one of the big improvements we've had is the quality of our equipment. The buses I started driving were the old Flyer trolley coaches, the 5000 series, if anyone keeps track of that. But they didn't have power steering. And so they had this enormous steering wheel, and we all got ripped out in our shoulders from just pulling and pulling all day long. If you had a line with a lot of turns, it was hard. It just depends on what the operator's up to.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh. Yes. I like long, straight lines with not a lot of turns. What I've also found out, though, is where the operator lives, they don't like lines that are right by their home. I don't know why that is. I haven't figured it out yet. But if you live in the Sunset, you want to get a line on the southeast side of town. I don't know why. They're just like, oh, I like that line more. But if you're on that side of town, you're like, oh, I like that. So it's, you always try to go to the other side. But the 54 line has 111 turns.
Don't say anything bad about the 54. I live on the 54.
So do I. It stops right outside my house. 111 turns. And also, it's set up so that they have to go by each other on a hill that's like this, steep, and they're not allowed to go at the same time because they don't fit down the street at the same time. But you can't see if they're there till you make the turn. But I have a guy, his name, that I know, his name's Nasir. And Nasir came from Iraq, right? And he was like, I'm signing up on the floating extra board, Saturdays and Sundays off. I'm like, don't do it. And he signed up on it, and he's like, I'm like, Nasir, he's like, I hate it. They have me on the 54 every day. And I'm like, yeah, that's a hard line. And he's like, it's the worst day of my life. And I'm like, you come from war-torn Iraq, right? You got bombed for 6 years of your young life. And you're telling me, and he's like, it's the worst day of my life, driving the 54. Because he was going uphill when a 54 made the turn, and they had to get a tow truck to tow him out of there. And I guess he felt shame or something, but I'd just be like, man, you guys need to change this route.
Oh, did he get stuck on the crest of the hill?
Yeah, on Topeka.
What? Oh, yes.
Were you going to say what the worst line was?
Oh, gosh, there's so many of them. But it really, I very much echo what Charles said about how for each operator it's different. Me personally, I loathe the 67 Bernal. I know another operator, he loves it, and I'm like, why do you keep signing up for this? And he's like, anything that keeps me away from downtown. And we got the 10-minute mark there, so I don't want to...
Wait a minute, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I see the 67 every single day, and when I see it, I say the same thing. I can't drive the 67 route in my car, right? And I have a Honda Fit, right? And I see it coming down the street, and I'm just like, man, how do they do it? It doesn't fit in the streets up there. And the tight turns?
Yep.
Impossible.
I have a question.
Great.
Hi, Leah.
Hey, how are you, Brittany?
How do you all feel about having field trips on your buses?
Good question.
Question, what was the question?
Oh, how
The
about
question how do you feel about having field trips?
Yeah, when a teacher's
on your
standing there
bus?
and you see them with 22 and more.
So when I was a bus operator, it was a pain in the neck because the teachers would have these books of tickets for kids, and you'd have to tear them all out. It took forever. Now, since kids under 18 or 18 under are free, you open up the doors, everyone gets on, you slam the doors, and you go. So it's not. I don't think it's as big a deal anymore.
The teachers ride for free also?
No, but the teachers all have bus passes because that's how else are you going to get to your school? In San Francisco, you want to try parking in the neighborhoods near your school? Good luck. But I work now in Chinatown Station in subway operations, so I'm in charge of the north end of the T3rd line. And every once in a while, the train will come in, the doors open, and 80 grade schoolers get off the train, and suddenly the station is full of laughter and goofiness, and all I can do is sit there and look at them and say, wow, they're cute.
Could I ever address that question?
I want to answer it too.
So yeah, actually, having field trips on the bus is actually perfectly fine because there's grown adults that are managing the kids. A lot easier than just kids in general. And I just want to, one little aside, when I earlier said that Hayden is an internet troll, I meant that as a compliment, and also I was joking. The reality is that Hayden has been super outspoken on Twitter about advocating for SFMTA, and the people that he gets into fights with are people that somebody should be getting into a fight with. So thank you for your advocacy, Hayden, and I didn't mean to call you a troll in the wrong sense.
No worries. I'm just happy you didn't say that 36 is the worst line. I was waiting for it. But you didn't say it, so I'm happy.
36 Miraloma.
How I feel about field trips is the same way I feel about this subject all the time. I drive a 60-foot trolley. There are 3 sets of doors, right? Just use all the doors. You know, just use when there's like 60 kids or like 20 kids or 5 kids. You know, everybody, you know, you can just get on and off a lot faster if you just use all 3 doors. And it's not just for kids. Like, sometimes it amazes me that people want to sit in the back of the bus and they'll all line up by the back door. And I'm like, no, that's where they smoke crack. Don't, you know.
That's why they want to sit back there.
Don't go to the back of the bus. And, you know, folks from like out of town, tourists and stuff, I'll be driving by Larkin and Hyde and Jones, you know, where there's lots of stuff on the street, and they'll go to the back of the bus, and I'll be like, no. But, you know, they're on their own. Sit down, hold on.
We have time for a few more questions, if there are any. All right, wonderful.
Hi, Leah. I also grew up in San Francisco riding the bus as a child. And I wonder, because now I'm a parent and I would never let my child ride a bus alone or do most of the things that my parents let me do. But my older son was obsessed with Muni. So by the time he was 3, he knew the 1 California, the 2 Clement, 3 Stalker, the 4 Sutter, the 3 Clement, the 3 Jackson, the 4. But he had the whole all the way to
He had it memorized.
He had it memorized, yeah. But I wonder, are there latchkey kids still in the city that ride buses as young as, like she said, 7? I mean, and I remember when I would ride the 2 Clement, I would be at my friend's house it was right behind Washington High School, and that was where the 2 Clement parked and started its way. And the bus driver was so concerned about me being on that bus for myself and would say, tell your friend to write my bus number down so that just in case something happens. And it was like a 5-block bus ride, but I still took the bus. But I just wonder, like, just because San Francisco's diverse, like, families have changed, there's less kids in San Francisco. I wonder what the experience operators have.
I see a lot of kids on the bus now.
Yeah, I've known. From when I started as a bus driver, of course, back then there were tons of kids riding all by themselves, just like I did as a kid. I see fewer young kids riding by themselves, but I see a lot of young kids riding with their parents. A lot. And I think it's even if you don't teach the young kids how to ride on their own, or you teach them that at a later date, it's still valuable for them, because these young kids have to learn how to deal with adults who are not their parents. And they need to, kids need to learn that the bus driver is someone you can go to for help. Or the supervisor, once you recognize who they are, they're good, you can go to them for help, that sort of thing. But we still have tons of kids. Get on the bus at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when school just let out, and you'll see them. They're all there.
Yeah, and in answer to your question, I mean, there were 7 kids in my family, and we were all on the bus. So there were even some that were younger than me who were with me. But there were plenty of parents at the time who just thought my parents were crazy. Like, they drove their kids everywhere. So we were really outliers in our neighborhood on the bus. And it is perceived, the bus is perceived as, you would only ride the bus if you had no other option.
Can I say something, Leah?
Yeah.
As a school teacher, actually, community operators and bus drivers are one of the key concepts of one of the units, community, that is taught throughout the years. So to your point, like, we look at community operators as an adult that you would go to as part of your community who you could rely to. And depending on which part of the neighborhood you live on and the means of your family, kids are on the bus to get to school. So thank you.
We have time for one more question. Yes. Yes.
Do you ever encounter kids who tell you that they want to be drivers as adults?
Did I take that one?
Real quick. So I was a cable car gripman for several years, and there were always a few kids who were fascinated by the cable cars who would ride all the time. And one of them, Joey Macasol, is now a cable car gripman, and a good one. It's a little disturbing to me that I've actually been around long enough to see that, but I have come across a number of operators who remember me from the cable car or bus driving days. It happens, and we also have many multi-generational Muni families. One of my colleagues is a supervisor, is Denise Green, and if you know anything about how Muni's organized, you've heard of Green Division, the light rail division by Balboa Park BART. That's her grandfather, Curtis Green. And her son is a BART operator. So go figure. Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to say something most of us operators are familiar with is, and I'm speaking as a neurodivergent person myself, a lot of us are very familiar with these kids who are regular passengers who are often very neurodivergent, and they are obsessed with Muni, and they're obsessed with the equipment, they're obsessed with the routes, and a lot of them do have dreams of someday operating Muni equipment. Fairly recently, one of them actually stole a Muni bus and drove it several blocks before he crashed into a fixed object and left. But these things happen, and you know, not too long ago, I was actually approaching West Portal Station. I was off duty at the time, and I was over at West Portal Station, and I saw that there was an Enjuta that was just stopped, and there were cops around it, and lo and behold, Charles Haletky was the supervisor on the scene, and I went and asked him about it, and he was dealing with one of these kids who is a little bit obsessed with transit and likes to ride transit a lot, and it's kind of this it takes a village kind of a vibe, because Charles actually had the home phone number of this kid's parents already. And it's like, so he already knew who the kid is, and he knew who to call, but the kid did not want to get off the bus. Or the train, I should say.
So we're going to wrap up, but if you read the book, so David Banbury was definitely a nerd, a Muni nerd. All of his friends thought he was, you know, what are you doing? And Harley DeVera also kind of aspired to become a Muni operator. He would like to drive a cable car someday, but I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, we're gonna let Car close up.
Let's give all these folks a round of applause. Thank you. Charles, Dustin, Brendan, Keith, Leah, thank you all so much. Muni's a huge part of our city, and I'm so proud to be here, and I love this place so much, and you guys are a huge part of it, and thank you for putting this project together, and thank you all for feeling the same way and being here with us tonight, and also to all of you online who joined us. This is very special, so thank you very much. I'm here to remind you, once again, that we have books for sale at the front register. You can find them there. I'm going to let you folks socialize and mill about and sign books that way if you want to, rather than keeping you in one place.
Yeah, we're all happy to sign.
And remember, if you buy 2 or more copies, first 5 people that get to me, I'll give you a shirt if you want one. Don't all, go wild, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
So, what?
For right, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm out of work. Yeah, if you need help.
No, it's fine. It's
Stand-up routine.